Okay guys, welcome back to another video. So in this video I want to show you how I go ahead and replace this rubber seal that goes on the suspension. They are the ones on the front of the suspension. They pretty much always break on the older BMW i3s. So mine is a 2014. This is the one that I'm going to put on mine. I just put it on the left side. It fits perfectly there, and in the description or on the screen I'll show you which part number it is, the price, and where I bought mine. So on the left side it took me about 1 hour to swap it out, and it's a big difference as you might have seen in the thumbnail. And I'm going to show you what tools that I'm going to use for this, as well as how the process is, and a few small tips and tricks to make it a little bit easier. So first thing, I'm just going to go ahead and raise the car up and take the wheel off, and make sure to use something for support in case the jack would fail. So I figured we would go ahead and walk through the tools that you're going to need too. So we're going to need obviously a jack. We're going to need something to remove the wheel nuts, the wheel lugs, and you're going to need something for support. You need these compression tools for the spring, because you need to clamp the spring together to be able to remove the top nut. These are really cheap. I actually had to cut mine off to make them shorter because the bolt here went out so far that it was hitting the suspension. So I'm going to show an image of that right now, and you can see what I did there. So I had to shorten mine to make it a lot easier. This one goes on here, so it's the same size as you might have here. You might need something like this to make it go a little bit faster to wrench this. You're also going to need 18mm, 16mm. You're going to need a 6mm hexagon. You might use this as a something like this. Works the same. You're going to need a Torx T, let me see. Yeah, T30. So that comes in handy too. And you're gonna need a 13mm socket, preferably on an extension, at least half of this length to make it easier. You need the new part that you're gonna replace, and you almost have to have a strap, and this is gonna come in really useful. Without this one, I would say you have to be two people to do this job, but this one is gonna make it possible to do it on your own. So that's all you need. For lifting the car, you probably know you need some form of a block to put under in this special location that they have designed to lift it from. You see here I'm also going to put on lowering springs and spacers. I'm going to make a separate video about that. So that's coming out soon too. It's going to show you the before and after then. So the first thing we're going to do is that we're going to use the 13mm socket, and we're going to remove this 1, 2, and 3 bolts up here. So next thing we're going to go ahead and do is that we're going to make sure that we don't rip this cable off. On the left side there are 2 cables, on the right side there's only 1, and it's going to, I would guess ABS, I don't know, but we're going to make sure that we don't break it. So what we can do here is that we can unhook it from here, and then this whole module can also pull out and hang, because it's there are cables coming from underneath it, so we get a little bit extra slack. Okay, so I'm gonna compare this to the left side. On the left side, the cable come out from under here and they go straight to down here where my finger is. So they're much shorter on the left side. On the right side, we see we have a lot more room, and they are held in with this thing here. So this one is okay to remove. Just pull it straight out, and then we have a bit more slack here. This one I'm gonna leave on. Next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna loosen this one. So you're gonna hold it with a Torx T30 in the center while you undo the nut. And this will allow the whole suspension to fall out, and that's when we're gonna use the strap around here and something sturdy in the back to take the weight of it, so we don't rip this cable. If you have a shorter 16, it would be easier. So also, there is a chance that you could actually just keep the nut in place and screw the bolt, and that might work. I'm not really sure how that is. I don't know how this one is fastened on the back of it, so I'm not going to take any chances. So that's why I'm doing it the tedious way. But this works too, it just takes longer. Next thing I'm going to do too is compress this spring to make sure that I can get it out. Okay, so I got the spring almost wrenched up, and I'm gonna loosen this part from the rest of the car. So I found that using the socket up here and bending carefully, because this is cast aluminum, or it appears to look like that. So just to pry it loose a little bit. I'm gonna need both of my hands for this. Okay. Tilting the suspension out allows this one to just be slid out, just like that. And this is where I chose to tie it down to this metal bracket, so it's not on the cable or the hose, brake line, whatever. It's just like that. So if I have compressed these springs enough, then there should be a little bit of play up here where the nut is. I'm going to start loosening it anyway, and before I remove it completely, I'm going to make sure that there's a gap under it, so that it doesn't just shoot off and like hit me in the eye or something. Because this one, if you don't compress the springs, there's going to be a lot of force on this nut, and it could shoot you in the face basically. I'm going to go ahead and clean this one up at the same time. I'm just going to play it safe and not spin the actual shaft that goes down in the suspension, because I don't know how that's attached in the bottom. If you know, maybe you want to spin that. So I'm going to go the tedious way and just spin the nut. Safety glasses, or perhaps even a mask to cover your face. This is what we're going to save, this is what we're going to throw away. So if you were doing this now without lowering the car, I would probably just go ahead and compress these all the way in, because there is a little bit of a distance here when I remove the nut, so it like a little bit of pressure on it, so it's going to be a little bit hard to get back. If there's two of you, you can just push it down by hand and the other person spins the nut on it then. So you see that this is why I want to, this is all that's left, and it's just rubbish. So I'm going to go ahead and unclamp this and get my lowering springs, and we're going to put that on. Oh, and before I forget, if you like this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. If you have any comments or questions or suggestions for what I should do different next time, put them below, because you know, I'm learning as I go. So I just got the spring on, compressed, and then I got the new rubber, let's call it rubber boot, and this top section And since I'm alone, I'm going to have to compress this a little bit more by hand and then threading on the bolt. So remember here to keep an eye on your strap to take the weight off this cable. So next thing is to relocate this one back in the hole here. That's gonna make it a bit easier. Move that box. So I had to put this on again, this spring compression tool, in order to compress the whole suspension so that I could fit it in under here because it was getting really tight. And it also got stuck on the top on the actual bolt shaft that comes out, so I had to use this wrench just to push it down a little bit more so I could get it in all the way. This is also a good time to put this back, this cable, and this small box to put it back in place.